Hello and welcome to Crypto News. Today is July 31st, 2025, and here are the top cryptocurrency news stories. Let's start today's episode off with the White House releasing the long-promised cryptocurrency report that the president has been promising. This report doesn't say much. The most basic things it says are that it clearly defines which cryptocurrencies are securities and which are commodities. Those were the first issues outlined in the report. Furthermore, this report states that oversight of the cryptocurrency space should be shared between the SEC and the CFTC, with the CFTC being the one to get the spot market in cryptocurrencies. Let's also say that the Cryptocurrency Working Group, which is the one that released the report I just told you about, is pushing for clearer rules as it sees cryptocurrency adoption growing. Visa says so too, as Visa has processed more than $200 million in settlements involving stablecoins. But the payments giant says the technology is still in its infancy and is waiting for tighter regulations for stablecoins and the cryptocurrency market in general to see greater adoption for stablecoins and cryptocurrencies. Moving on to this new report, let's just say that in it there is almost no mention of the Bitcoin reserves that the President of the United States mentioned, neither for Bitcoin nor for the other 5 cryptocurrencies. This report, as I said, doesn't mention anything, but it does mention something else about Americans, and that is that the White House is asking Americans to report the cryptocurrencies they hold abroad. According to that report I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, the White House is proposing to Congress on Wednesday that it consider potentially enacting laws that would force Americans to report digital asset accounts they hold abroad. They're doing this, they say, to discourage Americans from moving their money overseas. It's important to note that this is just a proposal. It's not certain that it will go into effect, and you'll find all of that and more in the description, 166 pages. Moving on, we'll see some interesting news about our ETFs, which is that the Chicago Board of Trade has filed a rule change request with the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, to allow cryptocurrency issuers to list products under a unified framework, potentially eliminating the need for individual approvals for each new mutual fund. In other words, anyone who wants to issue an ETF won't have to seek individual SEC approval for each ETF they want. However, if that issuance meets certain criteria, it will be possible to issue an ETF right away, without requiring individual approval for each one. And if this rule change request passes, we may be able to see these ETFs on the market much sooner. Continuing, we will also mention JPMorgan, which is partnering with Coinbase. Specifically, Chase customers will be able to use their cards to buy cryptocurrencies through Coinbase starting this fall. In addition, they will be able to redeem Chase Ultimate Rewards points for USDC in 2026. So JPMorgan is simply expanding its partnership with Coinbase. And while we're on the subject of exchanges, we will also mention Kraken, where Kraken plans to raise $500 million in a funding round, valuing the company at $15 billion. We know from Crypto News that Kraken aims to hold an initial public offering, i.e. become a public company, in the first quarter of 2026. Moving on to our cryptocurrencies, we'll go to Polygon, which has been down for over an hour. Specifically, Polygon's main network, Heimdall, was down on Wednesday due to a suspected consensus error. As the Polygon team stated, Polygon services have been down ever since. This outage lasted for an hour and was apparently caused by an unknown validator leaving the network, as the Polygon team told us again. So, from Polygon, we'll go to World Liberty Finance, Mr. Trump's DeFi, which is investing $10 million in Falcon Finance to further develop its stablecoins. Specifically, the investment aims to improve the activity and functionality between the two stablecoins, Falcon USD and USD1. Falcon Finance will use the $10 million investment to build shared liquidity, cross-chain compatibility, and a fast conversion infrastructure between USDF and USD1. USD1 will also be used as collateral in Falcon Finance, and perhaps a percentage of that money will be allocated to help the Falcon USD stablecoin not lose parity so often. And we'll turn to Ethereum, which is 10 years old, and let me remind you that, as we said in previous episodes about 10 days ago, in 10 hours you'll be able to buy an NFT for free for 10 years of Ethereum. Gas fees obviously yours. And we're here to go to our favorite cryptocurrency market, with the price hovering at $118,000. As we already knew, the Fed left interest rates unchanged. On September 17th, which is the next interest rate meeting, we have a 43% chance of seeing a rate cut. And to top it off, Trump made another deal on the Korea tariffs. Specifically, South Korea and the US reached a trade deal that reduces tariffs from 25% to 15% on $350 billion in investments. That wraps up the top news for crypto. Today is July 31st, 2025. I'd like to remind you that the content you just watched is created for educational purposes only and should not be considered as investment advice, but rather as investment opinion. Please subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and feel free to comment. Take care, everyone, and have a good day.